The galaxy feared the name of Queen Xylaris. She was the ruler of the Zorith Empire, a kingdom that stretched across hundreds of star systems. Her armies were unmatched, her fleets unstoppable, and her word was law. But behind the walls of her golden palace, there was a secret that no one dared to speak loudly. The queen's only daughter, Princess Serenia, was barren. For the Zorith people, the bloodline of the queen was sacred. Every daughter was expected to carry the future heirs to strengthen the royal line. But Serenia could not, and for many years, the queen carried this shame like a burning wound. She raged in silence, hiding the truth from her enemies and her own people. Yet one morning, the silence broke. A whisper spread through the halls of the palace, moving from servant to soldier, from soldier to general. The princess was with child. Impossible, they said. Unbelievable, they repeated. But when the queen summoned her daughter, she saw it with her own eyes. The princess stood trembling, her hands over her stomach, her face pale but determined. "It is true, mother," Serenia whispered. "I carry life." The queen's hands shook with fury. For a moment, she thought the gods had answered her prayers. But then came the dagger of truth. The child was not of Zorith blood. The child's father was human. The queen's scream echoed through the palace, shaking the marble walls. Guards froze in fear. Ministers bowed their heads. No one dared to meet her eyes. "The shame," she cried. "The insult. To think her barren daughter had broken the laws of their people. To think she had chosen a human, a weak creature from a backwater planet." The queen's rage burned hotter than the suns of her empire. But Serenia did not bow. She raised her head, her eyes glowing with something new, something fierce. "Mother, I love him," she said, her voice steady. The queen's breath caught, for never had her daughter spoken with such strength. "You defy me for a human?" the queen roared. "For a fragile warrior whose bones snap like twigs, whose life is shorter than a single season?" "Yes," Serenia answered, her voice breaking but true. "Because he gave me hope when I had none. Because he saw me not as barren, but as whole. Because he loved me when no one else dared." The queen staggered back, her fury twisting into fear. If the truth spread, the galaxy would laugh. The other empires would call her weak, her throne unstable, her bloodline corrupted. But more than that, something inside her trembled at the thought of a human child growing in her daughter's womb. What power could such a child hold? Born of two worlds, would it be a curse? Or would it be a weapon greater than any fleet? The queen's mind raced. Her heart told her to destroy the child, to erase this shame before it spread. But the whispers outside her chamber grew louder. The court already knew, the servants already talked. The galaxy would know soon enough. "Bring me the human," she commanded at last, her voice like thunder. The guards bowed and rushed to obey. Serenia's heart pounded. She wanted to protect him, to hide him, but it was too late. The queen would not rest until she looked into the eyes of the man who had dared touch her daughter. And so the tale began, a tale that would shake the stars, a tale where love defied empires, and where a human's courage would stand against a queen's fury. The name of the human was Kale. He came from a world the Zorith called primitive, a blue planet filled with oceans and forests. To the queen, humans were insects, fragile creatures unworthy of notice. But to Princess Serenia, Kale was different. She remembered the first time she saw him, standing on the battlefield, bloodied and broken, yet unyielding. Years ago, during a campaign on the edge of the galaxy, the Zorith Empire crushed a human colony. Serenia had gone with the fleet, watching from the command deck. She saw Kale among the survivors, a simple soldier with no great rank, no powerful weapons. But his eyes blazed with defiance. Even when chained, even when beaten, he refused to kneel. Something stirred in her heart that day, though she did not understand it. The queen had ordered all humans executed, but Serenia acted in secret. She ordered Kale spared, hidden among the prisoners. She told herself it was curiosity, but in truth, she felt something she had never felt before, respect. A bond began, quiet and forbidden, growing in the shadows of war. Kale was not like the nobles of her court. He did not flatter, he did not bow. He spoke to her as if she were not a princess, but a person. At first, Serenia was angered and used to such bluntness. But then she realized his honesty was rare, his courage even rarer. He told her stories of earth, of wide skies, endless seas, and the stubborn spirit of his people. He told her of loss, of hope, of love. And somewhere between their words, the impossible happened. The barren princess felt life stir within her. When she told Kale, he held her hand, his calloused fingers trembling. For him, it was not shame, it was a miracle. "You are not broken," he whispered. "You were never broken. You are more than what they say you are, and our child will prove it." But the shadows of the queen were long. Her spies whispered of the secret, and soon the truth reached her throne. Her fury turned into command. Kale was to be dragged before her. The guards stormed the chambers where Serenia kept him hidden. Kale fought like a beast, unarmed yet fearless, striking with fists, with broken chains, with fire in his eyes. Even the Zorith soldiers hesitated, for they had never seen such a fragile creature resist with such power. Dragged before the queen, Kale did not bow. He stood tall, battered but unbroken. The queen's eyes narrowed, her voice like poison. "You are the insect who dares touch my bloodline," she spat. Kale met her gaze, unflinching. "I am a man," he said simply, "and I love your daughter." The court gasped. The walls trembled with whispers. Never had anyone spoken so boldly to the queen. Her rage burned, yet deep inside, fear gnawed at her. This human should have been weak, yet he was strong. This human should have begged, yet he defied. This human had done what no prince, no noble, no warrior of her empire could. He had given her daughter life. Serenia rushed forward, standing at Kale's side. "Mother, you can kill us, but you cannot kill the truth," she said. Her hands clutched her belly, her voice fierce. "This child is the future, a bridge between two worlds. Destroy it, and you destroy the hope of something greater than your empire." The queen trembled with fury and doubt. Her empire stood on fear and power, but here was something she could not crush. Her daughter's love, a human's defiance, and a child not yet born, but already a storm across the stars. The court waited, silent, afraid to breathe. Would the queen destroy them both, or would she unleash a fire that no fleet could stop? The story of Serenia and Kale had begun, but its ending was still hidden in the shadows. The queen's rage did not cool. Her throne trembled under the weight of her fury. But even as she shouted her orders, her mind worked in silence. She could not kill Serenia at once, not before the court, for the news had already spread. If she acted too quickly, the whispers would grow into rebellion. So she chose a darker path. That night, she called her most trusted assassin, a creature known only as Nirax, Shadowborn, feared even among the Zorith. "Erase the human," she commanded, her voice like iron. "Make my daughter believe it was fate, not my hand. The child must never be born. Do you understand?" Nirax bowed, his eyes glowing red in the torchlight. He slipped into the night like a ghost. No door could stop him. No guard could sense him. He was death in silence, and Kale was his prey. But Kale was no fool. From the moment he had been dragged before the queen, he knew his life hung by a thread. He stayed awake when others slept, watching the shadows, his hand gripping a shard of metal he had stolen. When Nirax struck, Kale moved. The assassin's blade missed his heart by a breath. The clash echoed in the dark, steel against steel, breath against breath. Serenia woke to the sound of battle. Her scream filled the chamber as she saw the assassin. Kale fought with raw strength. No training could match the speed of a Zorith killer. Yet Kale refused to fall. Every strike he blocked, every wound he endured, was for her. Blood spilled, shadows danced, and still he stood. At last, Serena unleashed her own power. The princess was not a warrior, but she carried the fire of her bloodline. She struck the assassin with a force of light, blasting him into the wall. Nirax snarled, retreating into the shadows, his mission unfinished. But the message was clear. The queen would not stop. Kale lay bleeding, yet his eyes burned with fire. "They will come again," he said, his voice weak but steady. "They will not forgive this love. We must be ready." Serena held him close, tears streaking her face. "You should have let him kill me," Kale whispered, but she shook her head. "No, Kale, you do not understand. You are not only my love. You are the proof that the gods have not abandoned me. Without you, I am nothing but a broken heir. With you, I am whole." Word of the attack spread, though no one dared speak the queen's name. Some whispered that the gods had chosen the human, for how else could he survive a shadow killer? Others whispered of rebellion, of weakness in the throne. The galaxy's eyes turned toward the queen's palace, waiting, watching, and the queen, though she raged in silence, knew she had lost control of the tale. She summoned her war council. "The child will destroy us," she hissed. But her generals were uneasy. They had seen the princess fight beside the human. They had seen the fire in her eyes. They feared what killing her might do. Some even began to wonder if the child could be an advantage, a weapon, a symbol. The queen felt betrayal in every glance. Her own council doubted her. Her daughter defied her. Her empire whispered against her. And in the center of it all stood Kale, a human who refused to break. She vowed then that she would see him destroyed with her own hands. No assassin, no shadow, only her fury. But deep within her heart, another fear grew. What if killing him only made him a martyr? What if the child he had planted in her daughter's womb lived on as a legend? What if the human's defiance could not be erased? Kale and Serena did not know it yet, but their fight for survival had already begun to reshape the stars. The galaxy would not remain the same, and the queen's throne would never feel steady again. The queen's fury was endless, but even her rage could not silence the galaxy. Across the stars, whispers spread like fire through dry grass. The barren princess carried life, and that life was half human. Some laughed, some gasped, and some trembled, for no one had ever thought such a thing possible. In the courts of rival empires, the story was told with mockery. The great queen Xylaris, who ruled with an iron hand, could not control her own daughter. The mighty Zorith bloodline, pure and sacred, now tainted by a fragile human. Every rival seized the chance to humiliate her. Songs were sung in secret taverns, mocking the queen's throne. Whispers of rebellion rose in the conquered systems. For if the royal blood could mix with human blood, perhaps the queen was not divine after all. The queen's council grew restless. Her generals debated in silence. Should they destroy the princess and her unborn child to restore fear? Or should they claim the child as a symbol of a new era? But no one dared speak these thoughts aloud, for the queen's wrath was known to end lives in a breath. Serena, meanwhile, felt the weight of a galaxy's eyes upon her. She walked the halls of the palace under guard, but her spirit did not bow. Kale was never far, his presence a shield of flesh and will. Every step he took inside alien halls reminded the courtiers of the scandal. He was no longer just a man. He had become a living reminder of the queen's weakness. The queen confronted her daughter again, her voice sharp as blades. "You have made me a fool before the stars. Do you hear the laughter of our enemies? Do you see the cracks you have carved into my throne?" But Serena stood tall, her hands upon her stomach, her voice calm and fierce. "The galaxy does not laugh at me, mother, it laughs at you, because you fear what you cannot control, because you think love is weakness when it is strength." Those words cut the queen deeper than any blade. She wanted to strike her daughter down in that moment, but the court watched. Every eye, every whisper, every hidden smile. If she struck Serena, she would prove herself the tyrant they believed her to be. And yet, if she let her live, the mockery would spread further. Kale saw it too, the balance of power tipping in silence. He stood in the shadows, studying the courtiers, the generals, the servants. He saw doubt in their eyes, cracks in their loyalty. The queen's rule had always been built on fear, but fear was crumbling. And in its place grew curiosity, hope, and even admiration for the unborn child. That night, Serena and Kale spoke in whispers. "They will not stop until we are dead," Kale said, his voice low. "But the galaxy is changing, Serena. Your people may see this child not as shame, but as salvation." Serena touched his hand, her eyes bright. "I feel it too, Kale, but we are not safe yet. The queen will strike again, and next time she may not hesitate." And indeed, the queen was already plotting. If the galaxy mocked her, then she would show them terror. If her daughter defied her, then she would break her. But deep inside, a shadow of fear gnawed at her heart. What if the child truly was chosen by the gods? What if this union of human and Zorith blood carried a power even she could not crush? Across the stars, enemies prepared their fleets, allies hesitated, rebellions whispered. The throne of the queen no longer stood unshaken. And at the center of it all was a human warrior and the daughter who had once been barren. The galaxy watched, waited, and wondered, would this child be born? And if so, what destiny would follow? The queen's throne no longer stood in silence. Every corner of the galaxy whispered her shame. The barren princess carried a child, and that child's father was human. To some, it was a scandal, a curse upon the royal bloodline. To others, it was hope, a symbol that even the strongest empire could be touched by love. Rebellion stirred in the outer colonies. Alien leaders spoke openly of the queen's weakness. Some dared to declare that the princess's unborn child could unite the galaxy in ways her fleets never could. The queen's fury grew hotter, yet her grip on the empire grew weaker. And still, Serena stood tall, her spirit burning brighter than before. Kale knew war was coming. He felt it in the halls, in the eyes of soldiers who once bowed in silence, but now looked at him with curiosity. Some hated him, calling him an invader, a stain, but others whispered his name with respect. For he had survived the queen's wrath, he had fought her assassin, and he still stood beside the princess without fear. The queen could not allow this to continue. She summoned her war council once more. "Enough of whispers," she thundered, her voice shaking the chamber. "If the galaxy mocks me, then I will drown their laughter in blood. If they call my daughter's child a symbol, then I will show them fire and ash." But her generals were divided. Some urged her to crush the human worlds, to erase Kale's people before they could rise. Others warned that such a war would ignite the galaxy. The humans were weak, yes, but stubborn, and already their defiance inspired others. If the queen struck too hard, she might unite the galaxy against her. Serena heard of these debates, and her heart tightened. She knew her mother's pride would lead to destruction. She turned to Kale in their secret chamber, her voice urgent. "They will go to war because of us, because of our child." Kale's jaw tightened, but his eyes did not waver. "Then let them come," he said. "Humans do not run from war. But we must be ready, Serena. This fight is no longer only about us. It is about what we stand for. Your people and mine, together." For the first time, Serena saw him not as a soldier, but as something greater. A leader, a man who could inspire others. Her love for him deepened, even as fear clawed at her heart. She placed his hand upon her stomach, whispering, "Our child will be born into fire, Kale. But maybe, just maybe, they will be the fire that changes everything." Meanwhile, in the distant stars, human resistance fighters heard the news. A princess of the Zorith carried the child of a human. To them, it was a spark in the dark, a reason to rise. They began to rally, to gather ships and weapons. For if one human could stand against the queen, then perhaps all of them could. The queen, hearing of this, trembled with fury. "What have I unleashed?" she whispered to herself. She had tried to erase shame, but instead she had birthed rebellion. Her enemies mocked her, her allies doubted her, her people whispered, and at the center of it all stood Kale and Serena, defiant and unbroken. The galaxy waited as tension rose like storm clouds. Would the queen destroy her daughter and the unborn child? Would Kale lead humans into open rebellion? Or would the child's birth mark the dawn of something no empire could control? War was coming, not just between humans and Zoreth, but between love and fear, between hope and tyranny. And in the shadows, the unborn child had already become more than life. They had become destiny. The queen's patience finally broke. For too long, she had endured whispers, mockery, and the sight of her daughter standing proud with a human by her side. Her throne, once unshakable, now trembled with every rumor that passed through the empire. If fear no longer ruled her people, then she would bring it back with blood. She summoned her personal guard, the Black Legion. They were not soldiers of loyalty, but of terror, bound to the queen by fear and oath. Find them, she commanded, her voice sharp as a blade. Find the human, find my traitor daughter, bring me their bodies or do not return. The Black Legion bowed, their eyes gleaming under steel helmets, and vanished into the night. Serena and Kale knew the hunt had begun. They fled the palace under the cover of shadows, aided by a few brave servants who risked their lives. Every step was dangerous, every breath stolen. Kale carried weapons stolen from the armory, while Serena hid her swelling belly beneath a cloak. The unborn child already weighed heavily on their journey. It was also their only reason to endure. But betrayal came swift. Not all who served the princess were loyal. One among them sent word to the queen. The fugitives were seen heading toward the outer starports. By dawn, the Black Legion descended. Steel ships blocked their escape. Soldiers poured into the alleys, and the hunt became a trap. Kale fought like a man possessed. With every strike, every swing, he carved a path through soldiers bred for war. Yet for every one he felled, two more rose. Blood marked his arms, his breath burned, but he did not falter. Serena stood beside him, her voice summoning light to shield their path, her power blazing brighter than ever before. Still the walls closed in. Kale's strength began to wane. Serena's light dimmed with every strike. Then came betrayal sharper than any blade. One of their allies, a Zoreth noble who had sworn to protect Serena, turned his weapon upon them. I cannot risk the wrath of the queen, he hissed. Forgive me, princess, but survival demands loyalty to power. The blast struck Kale, throwing him against the wall, his body racked with pain. Serena screamed, her power erupting in fury. The traitor fell, his body turned to ash under her wrath. But Kale lay broken, his breath shallow, his blood staining the ground. The Black Legion advanced, certain of victory. Yet even on the edge of death, Kale rose. He dragged himself to his feet, his eyes burning with fire that no wound could extinguish. You will not take her, he growled, his voice ragged but unbroken. With a roar, he charged, striking with the last strength of his soul. The Legion faltered, for even they had never seen such defiance. Serena pulled him back, her tears falling like fire. Enough, Kale, please, you will die. But Kale shook his head, his bloodied hand pressing to her cheek. If I die, let it be standing, not kneeling. Protect the child. Serena, protect what we created. They escaped by miracle, fleeing into the darkness of the starport, hidden by those who still believed. But their escape came at a cost. Kale's wounds were deep, his body trembling under the weight of every step. Serena held him close, whispering words of love and strength, her heart torn between despair and hope. Behind them, the queen's fury grew. Her Black Legion had failed, her prey had escaped, and the whispers of betrayal spread further. Some said the princess and her human lover were chosen by fate. Others said no throne could stand against a love so strong. The queen swore that the hunt would not end. She would chase them to the ends of the stars. And if the galaxy stood in her way, she would burn it all. The galaxy held its breath. The queen's hunt had failed, her assassins defeated, her soldiers shamed. But her fury did not fade. It grew, hotter and darker. She gathered her fleets, the greatest armada the stars had ever seen. If the galaxy mocked her, she would silence it with fire. Kale and Serenia, broken but unyielding, fled from world to world. Everywhere they went, whispers followed. Some called them traitors, others called them heroes. And as the queen's shadow stretched across the stars, rebellion stirred. Colonies that had once bowed in fear now raised their banners. The unborn child was no longer just a secret. It had become a symbol of hope. At last, the queen cornered them on the edge of the galaxy. Her fleets darkened the skies of a barren moon where Serenia and Kale had taken refuge. The ground shook with the march of soldiers. The air burned with the power of engines and weapons. And in the center of it all stood the queen, her armor black as night, her eyes filled with fire. Serenia stood before her, heavy with child, her hands trembling but her spirit fierce. Kale stood beside her, battered and scarred, yet unbroken. The queen raised her blade, her voice thundering. "You have shamed me, daughter. You have defied me with this human. And now I will end this madness with my own hand." But Serenia did not bow. She stepped forward, her voice steady though tears burned her eyes. "Mother, you see shame, but I see life. You see weakness, but I see strength. You believe fear will keep the galaxy in chains, but the galaxy has already changed. This child is not the end of your throne. It is the beginning of something greater." Kale's voice joined hers, rough but strong. "I am human, fragile, short-lived, unworthy in your eyes. Yet I gave your daughter what no prince of your empire could. Life, love, and hope. Kill me, and I will die standing. Kill her, and you will destroy your own blood. Kill the child, and you will ignite a fire that no fleet can put out." The queen hesitated for the first time in her reign. Her blade trembled, her heart torn. Around her, the soldiers shifted uneasily, their loyalty shaken. They had seen the humans' defiance, the princess's courage, the love that no shadow could erase. And some began to wonder if the child truly was chosen by fate. The queen roared, torn between rage and fear. She raised her blade high, the air trembling with power. But before she could strike, a cry echoed through the skies. The rebels had come, fleets of humans and allies, drawn together by the legend of Serenia and Kale. They filled the stars with fire and light, their ships clashing against the queen's armada. The final war had begun. The queen turned her eyes back to her daughter. In that moment, she saw not a traitor, not shame, but something she had never allowed herself to believe in: hope. Her blade lowered, her rage faltered, yet her pride screamed within her. She could destroy them and keep her throne, or she could let them live and change the galaxy forever. The choice was hers, and the galaxy waited. In silence, in fear, in hope. The queen's voice broke through at last, trembling like thunder. "Go," she said, her face twisted with pain. "Go, and carry your curse or your gift. But know this, daughter, the galaxy will not forgive so easily, and neither will I." She turned away, her fleets still burning the skies, yet her hand did not strike. Serenia and Kale fled into the chaos, their child still safe, their love unbroken. The rebels fought on, inspired by their survival. The galaxy would never be the same, and so the story spread across the stars. The tale of a human warrior and an alien princess. The tale of a queen's rage and a daughter's defiance. The tale of a child not yet born, but already destiny. For in the heart of that unborn child burned a fire strong enough to change empires, and perhaps strong enough to change the galaxy itself.